I still remember the cold weight of my phone in my hands that night. Se screen loud with a truth I couldn't ignore. Messages, hotel reservations. Photos I should never have seen. My husband of 12 years, Daniel, was leading a double life with my friend Olivia for 8 months. 8. Them. Months. I sat on the floor of our bedroom, leaning against the wall, and began scrolling through his messages, words of passion. Plans for his future, complaints about me, about my job, my insecurities, my trust issues, my ignorance. The irony bent inside me, I trusted too much, not too little. Are you still awake, love? Daniel yelled from downstairs, his voice, which used to make me smile, now made me sick. I quickly locked my phone, just finishing some weak emails, I replied, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. While everything inside me crumbled, I remember thinking, I should be screaming, breaking everything. Facing him right now. But something cold took hold of me. A clarity like I'd never felt before. I moved into sleep. I have an early meeting. Tomorrow, I said. Another lead that came out completely naturally. His meeting was actually a breakfast with Olivia at her favorite restaurant. According to the messages I had just read, it's okay. Get some rest, I replied. The words tasted like ash. How many nights had he crawled into our bed after being with her? How many showers had he taken to wash off his scent before sleeping with me? How many times had I felt something wasn't right, and convinced myself I was being paranoid? I waited until I heard his soft snores before getting into bed, staying as far away from him as possible. I stared at the ceiling. My mind racing. The betrayal wasn't just physical deception. It was a web of lies, a staged plot, a calculated plan. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't weakness. It was methodical. And Olivia, my friend, the same one who cried on my shoulder about her problems with her husband. James, the one who accepted our wedding invitations. The one who sat across from me, with a smile, while playing with my husband's foot under the table. I discovered everything by accident. While using Daniel's laptop to ask him for a surprise and a birthday gift, a notification popped up, hotel confirmation for the following weekend. The same one he told me he'd be staying at. One click led to another, and his secret life unfolded before me, complete. The next morning, I saw him getting ready as if nothing had happened, whistling, adjusting his tie, looking at his watch, the perfect, dedicated husband. Ready to go to work. He kissed me on the forehead before leaving. I didn't feel anything. Just a kind of fascination with his performance. Have a nice day, I said, with a smile that didn't touch his face. Likewise, I replied, thinking, you have no idea what's coming, after I left. I called the office and asked for the day off. The first time in 3 years. I needed space to think. I wasn't going to confront him in tears. I wasn't going to beg for explanations or shout accusations at him. I already had all the evidence I needed. This called for something different. Something they didn't expect. I made coffee and sat at the kitchen counter, looking at the wedding photos hanging on the wall. We looked so happy, so in love. Had it ever been real? When did everything change? Or had I been acting in someone else's story without realizing it? My phone buzzed with a text from Olivia. Lunch next week? I miss our chats. Said as at almost made me laugh or scream. I wasn't sure. I left my phone on the table. She'd have answered, but not the one she'd expected, as thou expected. The shock became harsher, sharper. Every meme turned to poison. Every moment of love. No, seemed like a year on Valentine's Day when she arrived late but with fluorescent chocolates. Had he been with her before a weekend he cancelled due to a work emergency. Were you two in a hotel together? Laughing about how easy it was to trick me, I picked up my cell phone again and dialed a number I'd never used before. Hello. A deep male voice of Hammerstein. Catherine, Olivia's friend. My heart was beating like crazy. I think we need to talk. Silence. About what, exactly? About our husbands. And what they've been doing behind our backs. Another pause. A longer one. Time listening. That conversation changed everything. James had already suspected, but I had no proof. Now we both had it, and as we talked, a plan began to form. Not an impulsive one driven by rage, but something more precise, more elegant, more just. What do you want to do? James asked me after I told him everything. He took a deep breath. I think we should invite them to dinner. A very special dinner. A week leading up to the dinner was sale. I moved like a ghost. Watching Daniel continue his tea tricks the way I love you felt like a knife in my chest. Every I'm going to work. The text was answered with a simple, okay, I miss you. And I know exactly where I wasn't with whom. On Tuesday night, Daniel came home with takeout and a bottle of wine, a sort of piece of fame for having been so absent lately. I blamed work stress, clients, And the blinds, in added sympathetically and pours a wine, you're the best, cat, I said, squeezing my hand on the table, I don't deserve you. At least in that, I was honest actually, I said casually, I was thinking about having a little dinner this weekend. Nothing fancy. Just us and James and Olivia. Her fork stopped, halfway down. A flash of panic crossed her face before she recovered. Any special occasions? I asked, a little too carefully. I shrugged, no. It's just that we haven't had friends over for a while, and you know how much I miss having get-togethers. And added slowly, sure. That sounds good. Later, I saw him take out his cell phone, no doubt to text Olivia. I imagined his panic, his hate texts, his attempts to control this unexpected complication. Would they cancel? Would they make excuses? He almost expected it. It would have been the final confirmation of his guilt, but they didn't. Olivia texted. The next day, I lapsed in idea. Should I bring anything? Wine? They said. The performance continued. I responded with cheerful suggestions, as if I was still the trusting wife, the innocent friend on Saturday morning. I cleaned the house daily. I prepared an elaborate dinner. I laid out the fine dishes. Daniel watched me, uneasy, from the door frame. You're showing off, I commented. I want everything to be perfect, I replied, with a smile that didn't touch my eyes. When the doorbell rang at exactly 7 p.m., Daniel jumped. I dried my hands with a towel and went to NCIT. Gently touching his arms, I pressed him calm. Don't, I whispered, it's just dinner. Ham stood at the door, clutching a bottle of expensive whiskey and a tight smile. I played his role perfectly, the carefree husband. Greeting Daniel with a handshake and complimenting the house. Olivia arrived 10 minutes later, flustered, overdressed. She was carrying a box of pastries. Sorry I'm late, she said in a squeaky voice, hugging me too tightly. James and I came separately. I came straight from the office. I accepted his hug. I felt his heart pounding against mine. Fear? Guilt? Adrenaline? It's okay, I assured him. Taking the bags, we're just getting started. We went to the living room for a drink. I watched them closely, so why Daniel and Olivia avoided eye contact. The careful distance between them, how they drank too quickly, nervously. So, James, Daniel said in a clear voice, trying to sound casual. How's the new project going? Challenging. With lots of unexpected twists and turns, James replied. With a thin smile, we locked eyes for a second. We'd planned every detail of this evening. Dinner progressed amidst superficial conversation. Work stories, neighborhood gossip, the weather, politics, but underneath, the tension was an underground. Riverty set course after course, smiling like the perfect hostess. I watched as Daniel's hand trembled slightly as he took his glass. After the main course, I got up to clear the plates. Olivia, could you help me in the kitchen for a moment? She followed me. Perhaps relieved to be away from the stuffy atmosphere of the dining room. At the bar, while we were serving the set, I tried to sound natural. Everything is delicious, Kat. You've done a great job. I put 4 small plates on a tray. Thank you. I wanted this night to be unforgettable. Is everything okay? I asked, picking up on something in my tone. Using the fan, I looked her straight in the eyes. Honestly, I've been different for a week now. Ever since I found out about you and Daniel. The color drained from her face. She opened her mouth, then closed it. I don't know what you're talking about, please, I interrupted her. In a low but firm voice. Don't insult me with denials. I've seen everything, the messages, the photos, the hotel reservations, the apartments they went to see, the plans to leave their partners in the spring. I know everything, Olivia. She gripped the bar, her knuckles bite Catherine. I can explain, put it away, he said, taking the dessert tray. You can explain it in front of both of us. Your husband. To her eyes widened. James, you know, he smiled coldly. We've had some very enlightening conversations. This week, he went back to the dining room. Are you coming? Dessert is served. When we returned, I could feel the anguish steaming off Olivia. Daniel looked up, his smile crumbling at the sight of her face. James remained calm. Swelling his whiskey with a dangerous spark in his eyes, he placed the plates carefully. Each had an elegantly decorated chocolate mousse, and something more beneath the decorations. On Daniel and Olivia's plates were printed screenshots of their most intimate messages. Before we start, he said, sitting down. I thought we could talk about honesty and relationships. Daniel says flicked from me to Olivia to the dishes. Catherine, what's going on? I bowed my head. Why don't you tell us, Daniel? Or better yet, why don't you explain it together? You two seem like you're good enough to calibrate. The silence was brutal. Olivia was still standing, her back against the wall. Daniel looked like he was about to throw up. I think, James finally said. They're waiting for us to collapse. Tears, screams, The classic betrayed husband show. I looked at me, do we give them what they expect? I shook my head. I cried enough in private. Tonight isn't about our pain. It's about the consequences. Daniel pushed his plate away, recovering his voice a little. This is ridiculous. Whatever you think you know, go ahead, I interrupted him. Pointing at his dessert, look underneath. Both of you slowly, with resignation. Daniel lifted the decation from his mouth, his face turned gray as he read his own message. I can't wait to wake up with you every morning, instead of her. Just a few more months of pretending. Olivia hadn't moved. James stood up, picked up her plate, and handed it to her. You should see what's on yours too. Dear, her hands trembled as she read the sheet. Tears gathered in her eyes. James, I am so sorry. No, I cut her off without hesitation. Don't pretend it was a momentary slip. Don't insult us with apologies just because you got caught. I had spent the week with James planning every detail of this confrontation. Not for revenge, although that would be more than just, but for something deeper, clarity, control, a dignified clutch to a story they wrote behind our backs. Here's something many people don't understand about betrayal. It's not just about infidelity. It's about your life being stolen without your permission. It's about the right to make decisions knowing the truth. Daniel and Olivia didn't just betray our trust. They stole our agency. Over our own lips, we have questions, he said, firmly. And you're going to answer them truthfully. It's the least you can do. Daniel sank into his chair. Catherine, can we talk about this privately? This is between you and me. No, James and Dean said at the same time. This involved all four of them, so we're all going to hear the truth. Yet what followed was too always a painful revelations. Evie questioned and said Evie lie exposed. The apartment they'd seen together. The shared bank account they opened. The trips they were already planning on the day left us. With each confession, her shame grew, and, oddly enough, my pain diminished. There is power in knowing, in bringing secrets to light. Wise a chan. Elaborate dinner? Daniel finally asked, his voice cracking. Why don't we just confront each other? He exchanged a look with James before saying, because you treated our marriages like a game. He said. You enjoyed the secrecy, said about life. The manipulation. We wanted you to know what it feels like when the script is reversed. When you're no longer the ones in control of the story. And James said it, because after tonight, none of us wants to see you again. THISASNT the beginning of a long, complicated separation. This is end. Daniel raised his head abruptly. What does that mean? He took a folder out of my bed and slid it across the table. Divorce papers. Already prepared? All terms are clearly detailed. Olivia gasped. They can't expect us to sign tonight. Actually, James interrupted. There's something else. He pulled another folder out of his jacket. Financial records, messages, hotel receipts, a complete timeline of the rate, month, affair. Daniel turned pale. Why did they do all that? He leaned slightly towards him. Because they both work for companies with very strict morality clauses. Because Olivia is about to become a partner at his law firm. And you, Daniel, you just closed the deal with that. Client WHO chose you for your family image. Understanding dawned on their faces. They won't. Olivia whispered. We haven't decided yet, James replied coldly. That depends entirely on how easy or difficult they make this. As they read the documents, he felt something strange. Peace weeks of planning, calls with lawyers, secret conversations with James. It all led to this moment. It wasn't a scene filled with shouting. It was a carefully orchestrated transfer of power. You have two options, he said. Sign the papers tonight, accept our terms, and all this stays private. Or you confront us, and it all comes out in the open. To your bosses, your families, your friends. Daniel looked at me with noise. Not with love, not even with hate. With fear. I'd never seen this side of myself before. To be honest, me neither. This is blackmail, he said finally, his voice trembling. James laughed humorlessly. Interesting accusation. Coming from the man who sleeps with my wife. He looked at the man with whom he had shared 12 years of my life. Now he was a stranger across the table. It's not blackmail, he told him, it's a choice. A clean exit or a public disaster. Your choice. Olivia finally sat down. Her makeup smeared with tears. What are your conditions? He asked in a low voice that stood. She was always practical, logical, y nada to James. WHO calmly explained everything. The agreements were fair, perhaps even generous, but with non-negotiable clauses. There would be no compensatory pension. Clear division of assets, confidentiality agreement signed by both parties, and something else, edit, they don't control the narrative. There's no we drifted apart or it was a mutual decision, when people ask. They tell the truth, they betrayed us. And we decided to leave Daniel and his hands through his hair, a gesture I'd previously thought was cute. This is crazy. How long have you been planning all this? For less time than you've been planning to leave me, he replied without getting upset, as they reviewed Sedak Yamans. I remembered the first time James and I talked about what we had discovered we met in a quiet bar 3 towns away. Both in shock, broken, stunned. I thought he was going crazy. I confessed, little things that didn't add up. Coming home to find her freshly bathed at AOS. Running errands that suddenly took twice as long in that. I'd ignored those signs too. For months, what do you want to do? He asked. His sense surprised me. I want to lead with my head held high. I want to have control over how this ends. We spent the next week getting everything together. Not out of revenge, but out of dignity. For healing, for recovery, we deserve to decide the terms of our lips again and now, seeing Daniel and Olivia in front of us, reading page by page what we prepared. I didn't feel victory, nor pledge. Only certainty. I was claiming my future. What if we sign this? Daniel asked. Looking up, what happens next? So you're leaving, I replied calmly, tonight. Pick a bag and go to the apartment you were looking at, or hotel. I don't care. But you're not staying here. And my dreams? You can come pick them up next week. When I'm at work, James offered to supervise. Daniel's eyes widened. You two thought this whole thing through, didn't you? We had to do it, James replied coldly. They left us no choice. Olivia looked up from her papers. Despite her tears, her expression was calculating. What if we don't sign tonight? What if we want our lawyers to review it? I smiled at him, thin and firm. So tomorrow morning, your respective bosses will receive some very interesting emails. And so will your parents, Daniel. And your sisters, Olivia. Everyone will know exactly what kind of people they are. You won't, she challenged, leaned forward. 8 months. Olivia, 8 months of sleeping with my husband, while you looked into my eyes. You drank wine in my kitchen, which you poured, complaining about your marriage, while you were planning getaways with Daniel. You had me at my dad's funeral, while you were planning weekends with him. Don't test me. Something in my tone made he understand. She picked up the pen James had left on the table, and signed. Daniel hesitated for a moment, and then did the same. The atmosphere changed. As if a storm had dissipated. Is that all? Daniel asked. His voice small nodded. That's all. Go. Because he went upstairs to get his things. James took me aside. Are you okay? I whispered. I will be. I replied. Olivia was still standing by the door, clutching her designer bag like a shield. I'm really sorry. I said you never wanted to be found out. I interrupted. Save your apology, Olivia. Just go. Daniel came down a few minutes later with a suitcase that was not properly closed. Stopped in front of me. For a second, I saw a glimpse of the man he married. I did love you. Cat, mad. Maybe not the way I should have, but I did love you. I looked at him for a long time. That's the saddest thing. That your bitch and of lad could coexist with so much betrayal. I didn't tense they left, not together. Each one headed to his car. In silence I didn't feel satisfaction, nor victory. Only the constantity that I had handled an unbearable situation with a dignity and strength. I didn't even know it passes to James touched my shoulder. Do you want company? I denied no. I need to be alone tonight. To process everything then added, understanding. I'll call you tomorrow. We'll get through this. After he left, I walked through my suddenly empty house. I entered the kitchen. The dishes were still half eaten on the table. I silently began cleaning up, putting away food, washing dishes, wiping down surfaces. Around midnight, I opened a bottle of wine I'd been saving for a special occasion. This was it. Not as a celebration, but as a commemoration. The end of one. Light was the beginning of another. The week after the dinner, as I began to call it in my mind, the past being a flay of formalities, change rags, notify the bank, and the confused calls from friends who had rumors but didn't know the full story. Daniel and I are getting a divorce, she said simply. I had an affair with Olivia. Yes. James and Olivia are separating too. No drama. No frills. Just facts. Their reactions was the same as always, shock, awkward sympathy. And the occasion allowed of placement responded to everything with the same calm I discovered during dinner. This novation admittedly clear and compromising. Was a stranger. I was just getting to know Daniel. Tried to call me several times. I let them all go to voicemail. I listened to his messages with clinical interest, not with pain. We need to talk like adults. We could meet to clear everything up. You're not being fair. 12 years together deserve more than this. That last one almost made me live fair. I wrote to me only 11. All communication will be through lawyers from now on. James and I met for dinner a month later. It wasn't a date. We were both still hating. It was just a meeting between two people who'd been through hell together. How are you, really? I asked, pouring wine he thought about it. Later, he finally replied as if he had stopped carrying something. He didn't even know he was carrying. And now that Olivia went to Chicago. She joined a new firm. And she's on her way to partner. Good for her, he said. And he was surprised to realize he meant it. Distance is better for everyone, and Danielle, he shrugged, she lives with her brother. From what I understand. The divorce will be finalized in a few weeks. We sat in silence for a while. Comfortable. Weightless. Do you regret anything? I asked, suddenly about dinner. About how we handled everything. I thought about that night, the planning, the execution, the closing. No, he said. Sincerely, it wasn't out of revenge. It was about regaining control. About closing a story that was taken from us without question. We deserved it 3 months later. The divorce was finalized without further drama. Daniel accepted all the terms. Perhaps he understood that fighting would only make his humiliation longer. He learned from acquaintances that he and Olivia had already broken up. Apparently, relationships based on lies don't survive the lights of the house. Too many memories and but a smaller place. Closer to downtown, no space. No beginning. It changed my look. It took kickboxing classes. It reconnected with friends I'd put aside because of being a wife. James and I remain in touch. A true friendship. A caring one. Respecting each other's healing process. Sometimes shared trauma creates stronger bonds than romantic love. 6 months after the dinner. I ran into Daniel at a coffee shop. Se una vez has a cruel sense of humor and looked older. More faded, Catherine. I said, surprised. You look good, thank you. I replied sincerely, and you? I shrugged, here you go. Lots of work, and you? Sometimes I miss you, I confessed. I looked at him. At a many hit once based my entire life on. I don't miss you, I said without ranke. I miss the person I thought you were. I frowned. Now that I deserve that, it's not about what you deserve anymore. Daniel, I said, sipping my coffee. It's about me moving forward. And as he walked out of the coffee shop, he realized something. That dinner wasn't just about exposing his betrayal. It was about discovering my strengths, a strength I didn't know I had. Until I needed it. Sometimes the most unexpected moments reveal who we really are. Infidelities reveal the character of. Others got how we respond, that reveals always. It chose dignity over drama. Strategy over shouting. Self-respect over self-pity. And on the nights when doubts come to me, when I wonder if I was too calculating, too cold, I remember what my grandmother once told me. Sometimes, my love. The most powerful thing you can do when someone hates you is simply decide that it doesn't matter anymore. That dinner was my decision, my claim, my power. And I haven't looked back even once.